Hey everyone, it's Jack again. So after that last video about the argument with TerminalStillness, I was kind of surprised to see how many people liked it. I mean, you guys really enjoyed that, and I guess I'm just kind of embarrassed about the whole thing, because it's awkward. I feel like I'm pushing my argument onto you guys, sharing it, because I don't know what else to do, which I really didn't, honestly, and it was just an awkward situation, but you guys really supported it and liked it, and you wanted me to make a part 2, so that's what I'm going to do. Once again, I'm not going to comment on the relations, I guess, between me and TerminalStillness at this point. I'm going to try and stay the impartial narrator for the whole thing, so I'll do that, but I will keep my opinion steady, and I won't mention the current status of the argument. Since then, a couple of people did actually reply to TerminalStillness, have a little conversation with him. I threw a little input in, and there's been no replies since then, but at the moment, everything's actually kind of stable. The argument's reached a brief hiatus, I guess, and I think that's good. I'm kind of hoping that the argument just ends after this, so, but anyway, for what it is, it's still a very long argument. We've still got a lot to get through, so I'll continue to narrate it, and let you guys hear it all, so let's get into it. Okay, so when we last left off, we know TerminalStillness had just said a bunch of stuff about the Riku replica, and Namine, and memories, and Castle Oblivion, and everything, and I said in response to that, No, your understanding of this is so poor, I'm really starting to think there is no hope for you getting this. You keep throwing quotes around without explaining them, which just weakens your argument considerably. And I've told you hundreds of times, for the love of Mickey freaking Mouse, that is not proof. You have to link your evidence to your argument. There has to actually be an argument that proves beyond doubt that you can only be correct. You have not done that. I have. That is why you are so at fault. Everybody isn't certain, true. Only Xemnas and Vexen know the specifics, but you couldn't be farther from the truth. Oh, truth, contradicted myself a wee bit there. Silly me. Not being certain is not the same as being completely clueless. Axel, Sayak, Zigbert, Namine, Riku and others, they all know most of the facts, the important ones, just as the player is told. And those are the facts that I have relayed to you that prove that we mostly know what Xion is, and that is a replica who is certainly not Ventus. Yeah, I was getting a bit of a hot-headed moment here, so, yeah, and then I went on to say, Sora has retained his consciousness as a Heartless because he became one willingly. This process had nothing to do with Roxas. See reference 1 above, where Roxas's initial lack of memory was due to Sora's short time as a Heartless, not his condition as one. It hardly matters either way because this does not strengthen your argument. You think Xehanort stuck his consciousness in the heart of a younger vessel and his body disappeared? Except that's not what happened. He became a bodiless Heartless that allowed him to go back in time. He didn't do anything to any sort of younger vessel. You think I'm wrong? Then prove it. Why are you right? You also seem to think I would argue with the statement, Roxas had absolutely no memory or function at the beginning of his inception. I don't know why you think that. I think that's one of the things you've actually got right. I also don't know why you keep capitalizing the X in Roxas. It's just Roxas, dude. Nobody else does that. Yeah, he did that quite a bit earlier, you notice. I think after that he stopped doing it as well, so I guess he heard me out there. Xehanort's heart was affected when he became Heartless and Nobody. It became his Heartless. But yes, he kept his free will. Ven has nothing to do with anything here. There is no concept because there was no scenario where Xehanort drove his consciousness into anything. You made that up and can't prove otherwise. Oh, me putting up the fighting words now. Darn me. Ven did not become a Heartless or Nobody. Correction. Replica's Keyblade, as I said in the video before. The Riku replica doesn't have a Keyblade. I need to address this entire paragraph. There was a paragraph he said here, and I said in the previous video, his argument was that the data wasn't there in Roxas, and Namine switched them around, and Chain of Memories taken apart and reset every link. Roxas was a proxy for Sora's memory, and they were trying to turn Sora into a tool for Organization 13. None of this has anything to do with what we were talking about. I also don't disagree with anything else you said there. I claimed Roxas received Sora's memories, his true memories, after Sora entered CO and had his memory messed with, which were then passed on to Xion. Nothing I said contradicts what you're saying here, there's no need to mention any of it. But my biggest problem was this, and I think you guys understand this part. Don't say your quotes can't be refuted when they could. Well, if they could, then refute them. If it's so easy, do it. How are you going to convince anyone of anything if you don't argue correctly? I'm being cruel to be kind, man. You have to start taking my advice and answering my questions. It'll help you argue your case properly. Until then, your argument is nonsense to me, and you don't have a case. When will you just admit you were wrong? Did you seriously just disregard all of my evidence from my previous post? Yeah, that last comment of mine, you might remember, was like my magnum opus of arguments, and you just disregarded a lot of it. Are you taking this seriously? How can you not understand my argument? How can you not see the truth? You need to counter me. If you don't, you've already lost. Tell me you at least admit that Xion is a replica. Also, you might remember he did leave a little comment related to religion. He suddenly brought the Big Bang into it, and I did leave a little reply to that, but I won't include it in the video just because I'd rather avoid, raising tension, because I know this is a topic that just sets people off, and I'd rather not include that in the video. Just keep it as chilled as possible, okay? So you can see from that comment I was letting myself lose my cool a little bit, and I regret that and not proud of that, but I did get a spark of hope with TerminalStillness's reply. He said afterwards, "Okay, no, I get it now. I was mixed up. What happened with Sora was he didn't become a Heartless, like Xehanort, which I think you're confused about, as Ze actually became a heart without a body, not a Heartless without a body. And this was after Terrahort became a Heartless nobody. Like Xehanort, instead of becoming a Heartless, he became a heart without a body, thus was able to travel back in time to help Ventus. So I don't think any of that happened before he was born, except technically. Now it makes more sense when you put it into perspective. It's clearer now than before, but it still begs the question about how much influence Ventus has over Sora's nobody, and still gives perspective to Xion being born from both of them. I'm still dead set on Xemnas lying about the creation of Xion, as the fact that Roxas exists and the fact that he has no memories, same as Xemnas in Dream Drop Distance, was because of that. But it had to be a lie that she was a replica, because of the fact that Roxas came about with no memories. I'm not entirely sure what he was meaning by that, but the fact that he said he was mixed up, he actually admitted and gave me a bit of leeway that he wasn't completely correct about something, gave me hope that maybe I could get through to him. So my next comment started off with, "Alright, I'm feeling a lot more calm today." Technical point here, Sora did become a Heartless. So did Xehanort. They are both of course very unique cases. Like Xehanort had a conscious form unique to Heartless, while Sora was a shadow that was aware and passive of his surroundings. While you might see the heart without a body thing as different from a Heartless, they are still functionally the same, and characters continue to refer to them as Heartless when they were in that condition. It's not a big deal. What is a big deal is that you seem to think Sora travelled back in time to help Ventus for some reason. I don't know why you think that. It's never been said or shown to happen, and Sora wouldn't even know how to do that anyway, nor would he have any reason to. Now, I'm actually starting to get why you believe all this. It's beginning to make sense to me, even if the theory itself doesn't. Why do you think Xemnas was lying about Xion, even on occasions when he would have no reason to? Most of all, why do you disregard all the evidence that it's the truth? More people than Xemnas understand Xion's existence reasonably well. Now, I really was hoping for something reasonable, and I got this. In the beginning of Birth by Sleep, it shows that entire scenario. I think he was lying because Xion showed up just 7 days after Roxas did. Replica hadn't even been invented yet. The way Replica was invented was they took data from Riku, right? But it was data from memories that Namine took from him, and this was nearly a week after. Now, Namine was born just a week before, as memory serves, because 358 over 2 days happened during the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 through Chain of Memories into Kingdom Hearts 2. How can Xion have been created when Vixen hadn't even had time to perfect the Replica yet? He'd have to have stolen data from Namine to have created Xion, who was born of Siho herself and is immune to the effects of Castle Oblivion or any data collection to write a new person. But you can't write data without some sort of conscious memory collector, which was Namine. Nowhere in the games does it say Namine was tested on or given the instructions to collect her own memory function. I say it takes memory to collect data because you need a starting point to overwrite memories already given, as that is the power of Namine. She cannot give people new memories unless there are memories already there, not to mention the fact that memories were used to create those data cards Organization 13 used throughout Chain of Memories. I also say this because if you just use written data, it's a fair chance that your puppet will not function the same as the person you're replicating, meaning you can't copy his abilities, unless you have the thing that I mentioned earlier. You can't create people, conscious people, whether they're self-aware or not, without some sort of template to work off of. So it makes absolutely no sense to me that Xemnas is even telling the truth about the birth of Xion. The function of Castle Oblivion itself is to make people forget who they are, but they spent the entire time trying to figure out how CO does that. The secrets of the castle and all that, I could be wrong though. I don't know, it also says that both Namine and Xion were born in Castle Oblivion. It's almost specific as to say, maybe they were found at the same time. It makes no sense to me that Vexen could have created Xion in his first try and got it right, but created Replica, who was created from functioning memories and feel like he needed work. It's times like these when I actually started to wonder if he was even reading my comments, or all of them anyway. He clearly was reading most of them in part, but I did say that Xion wasn't perfect, and he seems to think I think she is, or actually is in the game, when we all know that's not the case. Just look at that cutscene with Xion. Nonetheless, I replied, saying, "At the beginning of Birth by Sleep, Ven was dying from having Vanitas ripped out of him, so Master Xehanort took him to Destiny Islands to die in peace. While there, Ven's heart made contact with Sora's. Not Sora from the future, Kingdom Hearts 1, but the Sora of that time, Birth by Sleep. Sora had just been born at that moment. "I'm a newborn heart," that was the quote. And his freshly born heart reached out to Ven's dying one and filled it with light. It was an automatic thing that Sora obviously didn't consciously do or remember. It just happened out of innocent kindness. I see where your misunderstanding arises. You think Xion must have been created after the Riku replica if she's a replica. Why? Because replicas need to be copied from other people and Xion wasn't? As a matter of fact, Riku replica wasn't the first replica, nor is Xion a replica of anybody the same way Replica is. Nor do I even think Xion was the first replica. See, there's no canon basis for this or any evidence, but it would make sense for the organisation to have been experimenting on replicas at some point throughout the 10 years between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 1. Even if they didn't, Xion wasn't completely right either. A lot of the time and days, Sayak snarks that Xion is broken or faulty. She was clearly not a perfect specimen. She would collapse, fail to summon the Keyblade, and even snatching Sora's memories through Roxas was an unintended side effect. She was what Sayaks called her and more, but they didn't have Vexen around to fix her. Her real name is Number I, after all. She was effectively a beta test. Now, as for her replica status, she is not a replica of anyone, as I said. Think of replicas like paper. They're blank and have nothing, but you can print data on them to give them a role or a purpose. The Riku replica is like a piece of paper with Riku's data printed on it. Xion is just a blank piece of paper, because that's what replicas are in a sense. Dolls you can dress up. Xion was unique in that she was set up to automatically copy data from Roxas, as though Roxas were accidentally drawing on this piece of analogical paper. But as I explained, data turned to memories, and copy turned to steal. So she didn't have any data to begin with. She was absorbing it from an outside source. You could say the Riku replica was more perfected than Xion was. He didn't have any glitches and actually had a person's data imprinted onto him to make him a less malleable being. This adds weight to the fact that he came after Xion, not the other way around. So do you understand? Replicas sort of are templates, with Replica being a Riku template and Xion being an empty one. Also, Castle Oblivion doesn't alter your memories in any way. Marluxia led on Sora and the player to believe that, but the reality was that it was Naminé who's doing all of that. The castle is called Oblivion because the rooms are always changing and difficult to navigate. I think you're onto something with the memory equals data thing, because the organisation definitely fashioned those cards to help them get around the place. Beyond that, CO doesn't have much to do with memories, although it is the place that Naminé was born. One last thing, this isn't something I'm disputing or arguing, I'm actually open to this subject. You said about Naminé, she cannot give people new memories unless there are memories already there. So how do you explain the fake memories she gave Sora in Chain of Memories? That was a genuine question, because I wanted to see what sort of answer he would come up for it, and dispute it maybe, but well, the response I got was less than friendly, I guess, on that matter. First of all, though, he quite rightfully corrects me about that quote in Birth by Sleep with Sora and Ven at the start of the game, saying, "No, what he says is, I'm a brand new heart." And technically he would be. There's a difference between newborn and brand new. A newborn heart wouldn't be able to communicate. Ventus has been inside Sora since he was a little boy. He'd still have the same heart as he did before Ventus came if they were to separate. His mind would still be mature, of course, but he'd still be a pure heart. What you don't get is Vexen's replicas were never successful until Naminé came. Naminé was the missing piece. I'm going to try to explain this to you in the simplest way possible. You can write all the data you want about a person, put it into a robot, and then have them mimic the skills of a person. But a Keyblade can only be written if the consciousness of the person you're copying is present. Someone who is made of just data written down is not going to be able to don a Keyblade, fake or otherwise, unless I'm going to find something to explain this to you in terms of engineering, because that's what this is. Somehow, like Kingdom Hearts, the engineering video game, I guess. I don't know where he got all that about Naminé from. I don't think that's ever been said, but, you know. Alright, I forgot the term, but the doll would need to be built of the same physics as the exact person to even begin to steal memories. Why? How? Why? How? I'm saying you can write data about a person based on what is seen, but that wouldn't be enough to grant the bot the ability to copy someone's consciousness. Do you understand this? You can copy abilities, but to have the ability to copy consciousness, you'd have to have the replica built of the exact same physics with a template copied to a T. Why? When does the series ever establish that? Consciousness is not that easy to duplicate. The reason they could duplicate it with the replica was due to the fact that Naminé was in control of his memories. She could copy the essence of a person. However, she still needs memories to work with for this to happen. She cannot create new memories, only copy memories and mix them around. Roxas had none of this. This is how this works. It's not as simple as, oh, I'll create a doll that can copy the abilities of someone and they'll be able to don a Keyblade. Oops, she accidentally is able to replicate his consciousness. He keeps saying consciousness. I believe I referred to that in my next reply, but that's one thing I'm kind of confused about, is all this stuff about science and physics. Like, it doesn't come up in the series at all, but he brings this up. Do you guys have any theories on that? I just think it's, a bit messy. Anyway, I replied saying, Right, sorry, I was thinking of the direct Japanese translation. I'm afraid you've misinterpreted it. It really is Sora being born at this point in time and connecting hearts with Ven. Newborn hearts are very powerful, being completely innocent and therefore free of darkness. Plus, this is Sora. As I said, it wasn't done consciously. Originally, Sora was going to be pre-birth, but Square Enix didn't want to get any controversy over the whole when does life begin argument. Besides, Ventus' heart meets Sora at the end of the game, where he makes specific reference to that event concerning Sora himself, not his future self. I have proof, don't worry, from the Birth by Sleep Ultimania interview with Tetsuya Nomura, the director, okay? This is the creator of the series. Considering the conversation between Sora and Ventus in the ending of the last episode, is this saying that the just-born heart that Ventus connects with in the opening is Sora's? Yes. At first we supposed that it could be Sora before he was born, but because of opinions from overseas that the heart doesn't exist until after birth, we discarded that portrayal. See? This is the case from the word of the director himself. Please don't continue to misinterpret this. There isn't even any proof to back up your claim. Namine has nothing to do with replicas. Xion is not a copy of a consciousness. She is her own consciousness. She doesn't even copy Roxas's consciousness. She simply develops her own personality the same way any normal person does. The only thing she takes from Roxas is power. The power to wield the Keyblade specifically, even if hers is a fake. What proof do you have that any of that is true? And that, my friends, is where things got interesting. The Keyblade connects to people's consciousness. You can siphon someone's energy all day. That does not mean you're copying their consciousness, and does not guarantee she'd be able to don and wield her own Keyblade, fake or not. She'd need to bioscript it from his conscious mind for this to happen. Ergo, she'd have to be built from a template that was already in place. My proof is the fact that Sora can wield a fantastic Keyblade, and he's never been given the ability in his life. He can wield it because of Ventus. Learn how the scientific theory of consciousness manifests before you talk about these things. Simple energy is not the answer. The flip do you think this is? Tulpa? I think I can. The fact that she doesn't copy Roxas' consciousness is the problem. Then all of the sudden she can take his memories, which is part of his consciousness. It's kind of like if you put a bunch of tech in your body that can read your body's activity and actually work on your electromagnetic nerve activity. Then you try to put the data in a robot. That does not mean the robot will have your brain and consciousness or to take that away from you. Even if the robot works on sucking up dark matter, once the dark matter is separated from the activity in your body, it becomes null. The robot will not become you or be itself with your brain and memories. For your brain to be able to function outside of your body with the experience intact, it would have to be in an atmosphere that preserves it long enough to be transferred into a vessel that mimics the activity of a human body. But there's not even a guarantee you would have the memories you had before, unless they siphon the chemicals in your brain while keeping it active with an electric current. Oh, that's a mouthful. Not the same, for example, the consciousness of a person in Kingdom Hearts is their heart, that stores the memories of a brain for the person. Roxas doesn't have a heart. Roxas is made up of the essence of two other people. Therefore, his consciousness is connected to them. He doesn't even have memories to write data from. He doesn't have his own individual energy. Xion would have to come from the same exact essence for her to interact with his consciousness. He keeps using the word consciousness. Like, why? Another thing that kind of bugs me is that he refers to Xion as taking Roxas's memories, which she can't do, apparently. First of all, Namine does it, so whatever. But the other thing is, she's not taking Roxas's memories, she's taking Sora's memories, so... As for that whole analogy about science and robots, no comment beyond what you're about to hear here, because it just actually gets worse. So I replied saying, well, she did. Whether you think it makes sense or not, it's a fact that Xion did that. The only problem here is that you don't understand it well enough. I mean, seriously, where are you getting this stuff from? I swear, Kingdom Hearts has never used the word bioscripting, nor has the replica program ever been explained in the depth you claim to understand it in. Stop making stuff up, dude. What's that? You're not? Well then prove it, because you never do that and it makes your whole argument pointless. Sora was chosen by the Keyblade, then has no impact on his ability to wield one. Then lets him wield a second Keyblade later on and nothing else. Proof, 20 Mysteries of the Series interview. Sora can wield two Keyblades at once because he has Ventus's as well as his own, and referring to hearts in that regard. I think it's hilarious that you're trying to bring science into an argument about Kingdom Hearts. I think every Kingdom Hearts fan can relate to me on this one. I mean, science? Really? Xion wasn't taking Roxas's memories, she was taking Sora's memories. She did so because Roxas was doing so, proving once again that you haven't been paying attention and so will never learn. I've constantly been telling you that Xion was copying Roxas's powers, not Roxas himself. It makes your entire robot analogy, sincerely hoping it's an analogy, completely void. Bottom line, Xion is a replica, Xion is not Ventus. If you're picking up a more good-humoured vibe from me, then that's well justified, because that is the case. I was actually starting to get a lot more into this. I was getting a lot more amused by this argument, especially when Mike Pena then replied with 3 comments in a row following that one. And clearly he was not sharing this vibe, as he said. The entire purpose of Nobodies is based in science. She was copying Roxas's powers, XD. You just don't know how. Cop out. Yet I understand completely how replica was made. Face it, you have less forgotten insight than I do in anything, especially Kingdom Hearts. It was an analogy based on actual theory. Sora can wield 2 Keyblades because Roxas fixed the part of Ventus that was shattered, which is, surprise surprise, Vanitas. If it was because of Ventus, he would have been able to wield 2 in the first one. The entire series is based in philosophy, ethics, and science. There is even a move called Dark Matter in it. Oh, well, that proves everything. I withdraw my argument right there. Move called Dark Matter. Clearly, the whole Science Kingdom Hearts thing makes a lot of sense now. His second comment, don't reply back either. You win. I'll stay analysing the game with my actual logical progression and insight while you analyse the game based on the Bible said so logic. Yeah, the Bible said so logic. That's clearly what my argument has been all this time. And logical progression and insight, I guess I'd rather have the Bible said so logic if it was more true to the actual facts of the series than, you know, a bunch of theories that were based on science which has nothing to do with the series at all. So, I'm content. I'm good, man. I'm good. And before some philosophical nonsense, you win. You know more than me. Just don't reply, you're boring me. You know, I would comment on his attitude there, but I'll let you guys do that. He did leave a third comment as well, and the third comment started off with a YouTube link to some cutscenes from Chain of Memories. P.S. There's your proof that you can't give people new memories from absolutely nothing, which would mean the replica would already have to have Riku's memories in him for her to manipulate it. The reason they can even copy his memories is because he's a full person. One of 2 things had to happen. They either copied Riku's consciousness when he was being manipulated by Namine, or replica was able to be made because of Heartless Terranor using Riku as a vessel, which is less likely. Before you say they could have used Sora's memories, if that were the case, they wouldn't have been able to have Sora fully back as Replica had left CO before Sora even went into the chamber. He then posted a quote from Luxord, like the most random quote of the entire series I think you could possibly make in this argument, and it doesn't add or take away anything, actually. If only the whispers at the top carried to the bottom. And that was his quote, and below it he says, it would only make sense that Xion and Roxas have the same DNA, so to speak, as is people without the blessing cannot don any kind of Keyblade. The only special case is Sora because he's connected to Ventus. This is canon, and there's nothing you can do to change that. The Keyblade connects to the consciousness, so not just anyone could don a Keyblade. It wouldn't be that simple for a puppet to do it. If there's no initial consciousness to feed off to the intended target, he has a Keyblade because he's connected to Ventus Sora. There is again, Ventus Sora. Why? And Xion is not in any way, shape, or form by your logic. The only logical explanation is that she actually is, and if she is, and she's a puppet, then by that logic she'd need to be copied from the consciousness of a Keyblade wielder to don... Why does he keep saying don? Don this, don that, it's just don everything, and I don't get it. The Keyblades have never had the word don associated with them, except for the way to don. That's a pretty good Keyblade, I like that one. What's your favourite Keyblade? Leave a little comment telling me what your favourite Keyblade is. Oh yeah, right, back to the comment. To don one, fake or not, since she was created to copy Roxas's powers. Presumably they had to have more data than what they had before Sora even reached the castle. But data alone is not enough to create a conscious being. She wouldn't be able to gain any kind of identity, or steal absorb any memories that she's not connected to. The fact that there's an entire missing piece in the scientific process of making a replica, my logical conclusion is that she's actually not. If it were easy to have someone don a Keyblade using solely data and programming, because all it would take was someone connected to a Keyblade wielder, and have the replica copy their energy, Xemnas could have done it to himself instead of having to use the replica that's not connected to Sora in any way, being that he doesn't even have to have the memories of being a Keyblade wielder, as he would be able to do it to anyone that's connected to a Keyblade wielder. The reason Xemnas does not have a Keyblade himself is because Xehanort abandoned his body, as opposed to Sora, who was brought back by Aqua's pendant. Wait a minute. Oh no. Instead of having to destroy his nobody, thus not abandoning his body. Before you say, if Sora only has a Keyblade because of Ventus, then if they take Ventus' heart out of him, he won't have it anymore, because that would be wrong, as Sora also proved he deserved the Keyblade he has, so the Keyblade will stay with him. Well, that's very good, because I wasn't going to argue that at all. I was going to argue the opposite of that, indeed. So, yeah, thanks for having that thrown in there. So as you can see, the argument is completely losing track at this point, and he starts making all sorts of inaccuracies related to the series, and goes off topic about science and stuff, and bringing up Xemnas and everything, and it starts to go a bit messy. And I point out every single one of these flaws in my next comment, which was a pretty long one, so let's see what I said next. I said, yeah, you completely made that up. Science as we know it does not apply to Kingdom Hearts. It's a fictional series with its own rules that you completely ignore. Between the two of us, I'm the only one who actually references the series and links it to my arguments instead of just making up points. We're having an argument about the Kingdom Hearts series, so you have to fit your logic to what Kingdom Hearts series gives you. You never do that. And now you're going to be a child about it? sarcastic mocking quotes, a passive-aggressive fake admission of defeat to make me go away. Come on, I thought you were better than that. If you're right, you should be perfectly capable of proving me wrong as long as you use the right argument. So, I've clicked your link. You remember the link to the Chain of Memories cutscenes? Yeah? And here's what was said. I don't actually erase memories. Just take apart the links and rearrange them. You still have all your memories. So you can put them back together? Yes. But first I have to undo the chains of memories I made on my own. Wait a minute, what was that last part? I have to undo the chains of memories I made on my own. One more time for clarity. Memories I made on my own. Wow. Not only did your link not prove your argument, it actually proved mine. By her own admission, Namine can create false memories. The only thing she can't do is erase memories, which is why to fix Sora she just needs to unlink his memories, not delete them. And even if you prove that Namine can't create fake memories, which she spent all of Chain of Memories doing, nice one Sherlock, you still think that somehow that proves that the way replicas are made is not what the series says it is, despite there being no direct proof towards your theory. And I think I finally understand why. I get it now. The reason there's no proof for any of your theories is because they're all based on assumption. That's where your theories come from. You take one leap of faith after another and then assume what you've got to be fact without waiting for it to be actually proven. That's a dangerous mindset to have. I mean, when you're right, I guess that's probably very fulfilling and exciting, but it's just not worth getting into, especially for a series like Kingdom Hearts, which will pull all kinds of turns except the ones you're expecting. At the very least, it doesn't contradict itself, though, which is what he's trying to claim the Kingdom Hearts series is going to do, with Xemnas being a liar, according to him. About Xion, anyway. We all know Xemnas is a liar. Anyway, people without the blessing cannot don any kind of Keyblade. Sora did, Data Sora did, Xion did, Roxas did, although he has one by virtue of being Sora's nobody, so yeah. Xion didn't have a real Keyblade, but it's a semi-decent copy, as I've already proven. Sora did not summon it with Ventus' help, the Keyblade chose him, as I've already proven. Restating your opinion will not make it any less false. You cannot nullify the truth that I've proven. The difference between my argument and yours is that I proved mine. You didn't. You even said yourself, Sora also proved he deserved the Keyblade he has, so the Keyblade will stay with him, which has always been the case. So well done for contradicting yourself. Xion is not a replica of Roxas, she's just a replica. And you keep saying consciousness. I'm so glad I finally addressed this. The series rarely uses that word. Are you referring to hearts or minds or what? If it were that easy to have someone don a Keyblade using solely data and programming, because all it would take was someone connected to a Keyblade wielder and have the replica copy their energy, Xemnas could have done it to himself instead of having to use a replica. Except that Xion's power became linked to Roxas to the point where they were drawing power away from each other. In the end, that's why Xion had to die, because they couldn't coexist. As I've proven. Besides, we've never seen Xemnas use a Keyblade, so that whole thing is up in the air. Yeah, the whole thing about Xemnas' Keyblade, it should be addressed at some point in the future, or maybe it's just going to be left intentionally vague, but there is a whole story behind that we just don't know right now, apparently. One way or another, we don't know that Xemnas has a Keyblade, or if he does, what he's doing with it, but to claim that he knows exactly why Xemnas doesn't have a Keyblade, that's definitely a lot of assumption on his part. Sora wasn't brought back by Aqua's pendant. The spell Aqua cast on Kairi helped her get to Destiny Islands when Radiant Garden fell to darkness. Proof? Ultimania interview. Aqua lays a spell on Kairi's pendant. Is it to protect her from the forces of darkness? Because of that pendant, Kairi was sent to Destiny Island. It was Kairi's power that brought Sora back, as he says later in the same game. You brought me back. You'd be better at analysing the games if you paid attention to what you were being told. Oh, another rotten, low-handed, underhanded, bad-handed burn. Shame on me. Shame. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, especially since all it did was incite him even further. As you see in his next comment, he said, no, Namine can influence memories that are already there. This is what you're not getting. The fact that she can't erase memories and put her own up there is evidence for it. The series has heavy influence in astrophysics and theoretical physics, all touching on time travel theories. String theory and some of the K theory explained using allegorical philosophy-based ethics in the characterization. None of that is provable though, and none of it actually has an impact on the story. They were drawing power away from each other. That's the only explanation you have? Really? How? How was she even able to do that? She was programmed to. Yeah? How? The Keyblade chose him, which I've already proven. Yeah? How? Because he was chosen. But he wasn't supposed to ever wield one. No one blessed him with the ability. He was an ordinary kid. He wasn't supposed to be a Keyblade wielder. But he was chosen. If I recall, the enchantment was, the light within you will lead you to the light of another, someone to keep you safe. In no particular form does it say, just this once though. It's a one-time deal, and that's it. I'm not even sure I know what he's going on about at that point, apart from the fact that he must be talking about Aqua's spell, and generally he's just asking me to prove all my arguments again. So anyway, he went on to say, "You'd be better at analysing games if you actually knew how to analyse them." Whoa, I just got reverse psychology now. It's getting really serious now. Again, I'm done. When you're through with being indoctrinated and taking everything told to you specifically as truth when they don't give you the sufficient evidence to support what's written down, even though they did and I posted it, then come talk to me. Till then, go take things literally at every turn. Preach the gospel. Unless you actually wrote Kingdom Hearts, I'm inclined not to take what Xackadee says as inherent truth, especially since as a character, he's known as deceitful even to his peers. There's a reason Nomura identifies with Xehanort the most, and that's because he likes to fly with stupid people. No offense. Good day. Alright. Yeah, I guess no offense then. I won't take that as offense. Now, I didn't really register this PS, his postscript, in my next comment, but nonetheless, he also added a PS in this one and said, "There's a reason nobodies are obsessed with data, and it's not because science doesn't apply. Also, in the world of Kingdom Hearts, the mind and heart are separate, yet one and the same to create consciousness." Yeah, true, but nonetheless, you can't use consciousness as an argument. You have to be very specific about mind and heart because they are two separate things, and they are treated as such more often than a whole thing in the series, so you might as well replace the word consciousness with person, and that'll just make everything even more confusing. And even then, it's just confusing to begin with because it doesn't make sense and doesn't tie into the series at all. Well, that's how I see it anyway. We will never understand the heart. It's not the literal heart, it's everything associated with the heart personified into a version of the actual organ that has an essence. Yeah, that's kind of what the heart is in Kingdom Hearts. It's like taking all the figurative things about hearts, you know, like my heart's not in it, or you don't have the heart to do that, and just making it real, like it's a real thing. And of course, it's more like a soul than a heart, the way it works, but it's still a physical thing that is in our bodies. But definitely, if you're going to get into the Kingdom Hearts series, you need a new biology lesson. Anyway, last but not least, the universe was all light until a war happened and covered the worlds in darkness, which caused them to separate. Their version of the Big Bang. There's a little more up there, but I don't really want to get into going in circles. Alright, he brought the Big Bang up again. He really likes that, doesn't he? So, and then I replied with another very long comment. So I started off by responding to the Namine point. Yes, Namine can influence existing memories, make up new ones, and can't delete them. What does this prove? It doesn't prove you right, nor does it prove me wrong. I've never said anything contrary to those three facts. Well, you're the one who said, "There's your proof that she can't give people new memories from absolutely nothing." Well, we both agreed that's wrong. You've contradicted yourself. Not going to elaborate on where you were going? Not even going to at least admit you were wrong? If you did that, I would think a lot less of you. Not that you should care, but because it's better for you. And come on, man, the Kingdom Hearts series has magic in it. Magic! Give up on the science lesson, none of it applies. Alright, you want me to explain how Xion was drawing power away from Roxas? Let's say hello to an old friend of ours, Reference 7. Now, following this, the comment, I actually went back and I copied and pasted the entire of Reference 7 from my previous comment, which was all that evidence and all that proof that Roxas and Xion were tied to each other, that their power was fluctuating, that Xion was getting stronger as Roxas was getting weaker, and so on. And then below it, I continued saying, there's your proof. There's how. Now, you want me to prove that Xion was programmed? Not a problem, that was covered in Reference 7 anyway. The key part is here, the quote from Axel saying, "You're a replica whose original purpose was to copy Roxas's powers." That's something Axel did not find out from Xemnas, but from actual organization records of her existence, likely written by Vexen. We see him flicking through in the game. Xion finds out that same information from organization's databases at both the Castle That Never Was and Castle Oblivion, neither record having any incentive to lie. And this is all before the quote from Xemnas here. The purpose of the replica program was to take a piece of the Keyblades wielder's memory and copy it. So yeah, you can see where that's all going, and I clarified all that, and then I said, the Keyblade chose Sora, which you'd challenge. Well, you're not completely wrong for once. The Keyblade Sora wields was meant for Riku, but it went to Sora instead, almost by accident. We know that because Terra bequeathed Riku. Sora first received it when Riku left the island using darkness, which weakened his heart, causing the Keyblade to pass its decision on to Sora, who was nearby and whose heart was stronger. And Riku took it back later, calling ownership. But then we had the whole My Friends Are My Power scene shortly after that, where we clearly see the Keyblade chose Sora over Riku, for good. It's been with him ever since. I'm not picky about whether you think the Keyblade chose Sora, but it's irrefutable that the Keyblade did choose him. Have some proof. In an interview with Tetsuya Nomura, Sora can wield two Keyblades at once because he has Ventus's as well as his own. The Keyblade chooses its master, and it chose you. So we did what the Keyblade did, and moved down the list. Young Master Xehanort, Yuffie, And, oh, one more here. Sora also proved he deserved the Keyblade he has, so the Keyblade will stay with him. Oops, sorry, that one was you. I'm well aware Sora wasn't officially chosen, but the Keyblade made a different call, as we all know. And I've already proven that Aqua's spell, which was on Kairi, not Sora, you donut, is what brought Kairi to Destiny Islands. It has nothing to do with the Keyblade, at all. What on earth did you think the light of another, someone to keep you safe, meant? At this point, I'm, like, really pitying this guy. Xemnas is deceitful. That's why he lied to everyone in the first place that Xion was not a puppet and an actual member of the organisation. But after the project fell apart and Xion went rogue, Xemnas came clean and revealed the truth because it was no longer his concern what the organisation knew regarding the matter. Although I spelt that wrong. Regarding. Right, I'm just going to have to move past my self-loathing for now and continue this. Day 355, all of the organisation are told of Xion's true self and of the replica program. But knowing you, you'll still ignore my evidence no matter how solid it is. So thank goodness for Dream Drop Distance. This is hard evidence that you can look up yourself. It's directed at nobody but the player, so there's absolutely no reason for it to lie. Plus, its main intention is even to help players keep up with the series, so it would be no help to give them false information when people struggle to keep up as it is. So everyone, I bring you from Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance the journal entry on Xion, Organisation 13's mysterious 14th member. She was an experimental replica used to catch Roxas's memories and create a Keyblade wielder for the organisation. In the end, she was erased from existence and returned to Sora where she belonged. And then, not done yet, there's Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance glossary entry, Hearts tied to Sora. Another being was also created, a replica named Xion. Xion was formed from Sora's memories of Kairi, and she had the power to copy Roxas. Ultimately, Xion and Namine realised their place and guided the pieces back to where they belonged. Namine returned to Kairi's heart, and Xion and Roxas returned to Sora's. Oh, but I'm still not done. Lastly, and this was transcribed, I couldn't find this online, so I actually went, got my 3DS, got my copy of Dream Drop Distance, looked this up, and typed it all out right here. Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance Mementos Chronicles entry 358 over 2 days. It's recounting the events of 358 over 2 days, and here it says, aimlessly Roxas found himself wandering toward the clock tower. There Xion revealed herself not to be a her at all, but a faceless puppet that the organisation had created as a cage for Sora's memories. The last of those memories were inside Roxas, Sora's nobody, and she would have to take them from him to become a complete Sora replica. The two fought, and Xion got her wish. She was defeated. As the memories that made her up returned to Sora, she ceased to exist and vanished from the minds of all who knew her. If you argue with any of that, you are officially an idiot. Sincerely. Don't be stubborn. Take this evidence seriously and think it over. If you don't, you'll just be arguing with the truth. I analyse games based on facts, evidence, and strong enough implications. That's what separates me from you. And that's as far as I care on the matter. Well, all in all, you might remember he said he was done, and I did say, you know, if he argues with it, he's officially an idiot, and I did provide really hard evidence and all that, but he did reply back. And the argument went on. We're not done yet, there's still quite a bit to go. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this part, I think. I want to keep the videos roughly the same length. I even wanted to make this one shorter, but that last comment kind of ran over into time. But yeah. Anyway, I'll just end it here for now. That was my last word on the matter for that part, for this part anyway. So I might continue this with a part 3, again, if you guys are interested enough to keep this up. I mean, I was amazed to see you guys really were entertained by this. I guess I would be too, honestly. It's an internet argument. Who doesn't love those? But seriously guys, thank you. Thank you for showing this appreciation. It's really cool. So I might make a part 3, but if so, I'll probably take my time about it, sorry. But not to worry, that's all I wanted to throw in for now. Anyway, thanks for watching.